September is my birth month, but it's been a very, very long time since I've celebrated my birthday. This year, though, I thought I would very much like to celebrate the doctors who've been a huge part of my life through a series of episodes on this podcast. I often come and say you have to trust a doctor, you have to build a relationship with a doctor. And I feel like showing you the benefits of having long-term connections and really going out of your way to have faith in the medical system. I was 21, and I very, very clearly remember this. I'd gone to study my master's in London, and I was standing on the steps of the London School of Economics, and there was this beautiful, very ornate Victorian building behind me when I got a call. And my maternal uncle had called and he said, your mom's heart is not beating anymore. So I said, what, is she dead? I mean, when you say your heart is not beating anymore, I mean, there's very little left to imagination. And he said, no, she's not dead, but her heart is not beating. Her heart has failed. So I said, how is her, what is she superhuman? Like, it was the most strange sort of explanation I'd ever heard in my life at that point. And honestly, I'd never heard of the word heart failure. And evidently neither had my uncle because he just couldn't explain it. So I got onto the next flight home. I remember it was snowing and I got to Heathrow Airport. And just as I got there, they canceled all the flights. All the public transport was stopped because there was heavy snowfall. And then I was stranded in that airport for about 3 days, actually, queuing up to get like supplies just to survive. And calls were expensive. There was no WhatsApp back then. There was very little you could trust on the internet in terms of, the details with which one could understand medical conditions like heart failure. So it was a very confusing time for me. And I remember when I finally got home, mom was fine. Mom had actually been discharged. And in fact, this was the time when stents were in the rage, so everybody was getting stents and everybody was afraid of stents. And there was a lot of, if you get a stent, then the stent is a way for hospitals to make money and then you will die. And, I remember the first question I said is, did she have to get a stent? And she didn't actually. She came home and I do remember reading up on heart failure at that time, and it said, there were certain markers to, sort of grade your level of heart failure. And the one Mama had said a life expectancy of 5 to 10 years, and there was not a whole lot of things you could do at that time. I remember, reading that the best option would be a heart transplant going abroad because eventually the heart will give way, this and that. It's been 15 years plus. Mommy is still very much alive and kicking and going out to musicals and concerts and art shows. And she does yoga every day. She never had a stent. She has had a few bad episodes with, the heart, but she's absolutely fine. And her treatment, most specifically, I have noticed this, that there are a whole lot more options in terms of the medicines that she's having. She's also got diabetes, and suddenly there's so many new ways in which you can manage diabetes. And it was something that I really wanted to talk to and discuss. So I have with me today her cardiologist, who is also incidentally the first doctor I've ever met. He's also the first doctor who has ever taken a family member of mine out of a ventilator and sent her back home, also alive and kicking, that was quite an experience as well. He is Dr. Rajeev Rathi. He is the principal director and the head of the Transradial Interventional Programme at Max Super Speciality Hospital, Saket. I know him as Dr. Rathi, the best cardiologist ever. So, hello, Dr. Rathi. How are you?
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you very much for your nice introduction. And Really, you have given a very good perspective of a relative when he comes to know about the condition of heart and what was or what is his or her reaction. And that is very important. And we as a doctor should also remember uh, these things because they are very important. We do see patients daily, day in, day out. But for someone that is very important. So it is very, very important
Yeah.
that all should realize what is expected out of us in this situation of crisis.
Yeah. No, before we get to the personal part of having a patient, I I thought we would discuss what on earth is heart failure, because even today, honestly, it's the term. I think it just confuses everyone. The minute you tell people, they associate it with a heart attack or death. So what is it?
So now there is very important terms. That is a one is a cardiac arrest, and second is heart failure. And at times people also say heart fail ho gaya. So, so these three terms. So we should try to analyze these terms. Cardiac arrest is a condition when the heart has stopped beating and there is a circulatory arrest. And in that particular situation, you have to do a CPR, and by means of CPR, you revive the patient, and circulation is being restored, and later on the management starts. That is what is a cardiac arrest. At times, you are not able to revive the patient in that cardiac arrest, and patient dies. Second thing, heart fail ho gaya. So that's a very different situation. At times, what happens? A patient of uh, let's come first. What is heart failure? Heart failure means when heart is not able to meet out the demand of body. Any organ when it is not able to meet out the demand of body, we start saying that this particular organ is failing, and we have to support that. You will have a patient who suddenly start getting breathlessness, uneasiness, perspiration, not able to do anything. He has to take lot of efforts to get a single breath. These are the situation of acute heart failure. And a patient of acute heart failure gets stabilized, gets discharged. Then, if heart functioning is low, he remains with medication if he is taking properly that medication in the same condition unless and until there is a another episode of breathlessness. So that episode is again a episode of a heart failure.
Mhm.
And
S-
when at times people say heart fail ho gaya, so that is what is this term. When a patient of heart failure is being stabilized on medication and again he develops a symptom, then we say that heart fail ho gaya. So
Right.
So heart failure is basically a condition where heart is not able to meet the demand of body. And it can be because of various reasons.
Mm.
And for
So,
that,
I would interrupt you to say before you start telling me the reasons, we just did a episode on sleep apnea with a pulmonologist, and I discovered snoring can also lead to heart failure. So it was a big revelation for me. So now I'm going around telling everyone, do you snore? Go get it checked.
you're right. Lifestyle diseases are very important risk factor for heart failure. Now, heart failure can be of two reasons, two types we can say broadly, we can classify them. That is a heart failure with reduced ejection fraction and heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. What do you mean by ejection fraction? Ejection fraction is as the pumping capacity of heart. See, if pumping capacity has gone to less than 40%, 30%, 25%, then this subset of patient comes under the category of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. But you can have a good number of patients whose heart functioning is absolutely normal, but heart is not able to meet the demand of body. That is known as heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. So what you're talking is snoring and other things. Basically, these are the subset of patients. These are obese, hypertensive. So these patients will have a heart failure with preserved ejection fraction. And the prognosis of both is slightly different, but both are uh, not a good condition.
I can imagine. And I remember when mommy had first gone through the first round of treatment, which was mostly lifestyle changes, a whole lot of them. I remember we discovered for the first time you have to restrict your liquid intake, the amount of stairs you take, the diet, and so on and so forth. Today, we're almost completing 2025. I wanted to go through the various options of drugs, devices, surgeries, and lifestyle programs that would be available for a heart failure patient. So, could we start with the medications? How have they changed?
There is a tremendous change over a period of this last 10 years in the management of heart failure. And if you remember, the most important drug came around in 2016. We started with your mother also, that is Vimada. That is a combination of sacubitril valsartan drug. That drug has really changed the whole paradigm treatment of heart failure. And this is one molecule which has given not only improvement in survival, but at the same time of quality of life of patient has improved. Patient started saying, the moment we introduced this drug, patient started saying, now we started feeling relatively better. So, so it was giving impact in both the ways. We were also finding good it as far as our parameters are concerned, but at the same time, patient's well-being is also being formed. So that is one molecule. Second came as a drug which was originally used for diabetes, and that is glyphosins, dapagliflozin, empagliflozin. So this was another drug which came and shown a very good improvement in the management of heart failure. And third thing, what happened with the advent of these two new molecules, we also became very aggressive in the management of heart failure. We were more proactive what we used to be earlier. So we started calling patient too often and try to optimize the drug as much as one can tolerate that. So that has also given a very good outcome as far as long-term management or lifestyle life of a patient is concerned.
Yeah.
So these are the as far as drugs are concerned, these were the two very important drugs. Of course, beta blocker and MRA, mineralocorticoid receptor antagonist, these were also available, and they were available earlier also, and we were using them. But these two drugs were the new drug. Again, a few years back, we again got one more drug, that is vericiguat. So we started using this drug also. So these three, four drugs has changed the whole medical management of heart failure.
Yeah.
As far as devices are concerned, they are different, and you know in your mother's case also, and
Yes.
she qualified for the CRTD, and but she said that
Yes.
I'm fine. I don't want to have anything, and
Yeah.
I've been asking since last I think couple of 9, 10 years, and but she said no, doctor, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And fortunately, she is doing so good, and she is fully active.
Yeah.
So
But tell me, because at one point, we only knew of pacemakers, and there is a lot of, but what can one say, negativity attached to the idea of putting a foreign object into one's body, you know? Because there's been so much, you hear reports of pacemaker short circuiting, then the batteries being changed, and stents had their own, controversies going through. And I think most of us, when we imagine it, we're really imagining, a foreign object in our body, and that is frightening. But these materials, or the quality of what one is implanting today, have improved. So, is it right to still be scared?
One should not be scared. These are
Mm.
absolutely fine, and the quality is good since the beginning. It is not a new thing. The cobalt chromium is a fantastic material alloy, and platinum is there. So one should not be afraid of it. As far as battery life is concerned, yes, everything has got a life. And when you put a pacemaker, particularly if you are having CRTD, life is
Mm.
in current generation devices is around 10 to 12 years and depends on the uses. If suppose someone is getting repeated shocks, then battery is going to be exhausted earlier.
But that doesn't sound like fun, now getting shocks from
No,
inside
no,
your body.
no, but that's very important.
Right. I
Suppose,
think that's the scary part, right? Like
not
you suddenly
scary.
get a shock.
No, but
Yeah,
suppose that's
right.
you have got a doctor inside your chest who is monitoring continuously, and if something goes
Yeah.
wrong, it is capable of taking actions immediately.
And so what are these shocks exactly? Is it like a current, like an electric current, or
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
they're not dangerous?
No, they are useful. They are preventing us
Oh,
from danger.
okay.
Suppose a heartbeat goes abnormal, those devices will try to correct by increasing the pulse rate. As
Ah.
we say that by means of pacing, when the device finds that it is not able to control the abnormal rhythm only by pacing, then it will already uh, then it will order to the device to get the charge. And once it decides that now power has to be delivered or shock has to be delivered, it will fire and shock will be delivered and the whole rhythm will be restored.
Mhm. Tell me about surgeries next, because I remember at one point a friend's dad went in for a heart transplant, which didn't go very well 10 years ago. And, it was the same diagnosis of heart failure. And one was very concerned that, one day would come when we would also have to go through that or look for one. Um, how are success rates for heart transplants now? I mean, I know the shortage of hearts, especially from live donor. Well, you can't have from live donors for hearts. But I know I'm pretty sure there's a long waiting list. But how have surgeries for heart failure patients changed?
So first we should know why there is a heart failure. So everyone knows that heart is a muscular organ and it has got four valves. If there is a problem with the muscles, then functioning of heart will go down. And why there is a problem with muscle? There can be other two reasons. Either primarily muscles are involved, that is what is known as a cardiomyopathy, or because of heart attack or lack of blood supply, the functioning of muscles have gone down. So that is a different type. In both the condition, patient will have symptoms of heart failure, but the treatment is going to be different. If there is a multiple blockages in the arteries, and because of that, our patient has sustained heart attack because of blockages in the artery, then there is a role of stents and bypass surgery. And by means of that, we can have the improvement in the functioning of heart. Yes, of course, with the help of drugs also. Second is valves. If there is a leakage in the valve, whether it's aortic valve or it's a mitral valve, or there is a blockages in the valve, suppose in aortic valve is narrowed and patient has gone in heart failure. In that condition, you just change the valve. Patient's heart failure will be improved. If valves are fine and arteries are fine and patient is in heart failure because of the primarily disease of muscles, that is the condition that that particular patient will require, if not responding to medical management, cardiac transplant.
Tell me, when did you do your first heart surgery? What year was it, approximately?
Uh, Fortunately, right now I have got a patient in whom
Yes,
I did the angioplasty, that is in 1999.
1999. And how many open heart or heart surgeries would you have?
I'm not a
Oh, you're
cardiac,
not doing.
so I am involved in angioplasties. So
And how many would you have done by now?
uh, I've not kept a count of it. More
Approximately.
uh, approximately, I must have finished more than 16,000 angioplasties, 16,
So
70,000.
the reason I wanted to know was that since you started till now, the recovery, the ease with which one can conduct these procedures, how is it like for you as a doctor? Like, is it, I mean, and for the patient, how much of an improvement have our, surgical units or an angioplasty seen since the time you started?
It's a big change, and when we started, we were doing transfemoral approach for the management of angioplasties or angiography. Now we have got a transradial. Since last 2003, I am using transradial approach. And in transradial approach, you go with from the artery of the wrist and you do the angioplasties. And that is one change. Second change, we have got now very good quality stands, which are uh, very robust as far as outcome is concerned. Recurrence rate is has dropped down to almost 5 to 10%. These two things are very, very important. And third is drugs. Now we have got very good
Mm.
antiplatelet drugs. So chances of instant thrombosis or acute thrombosis, they have also gone down. Third, fourth thing is intracoronary imaging. Now we can go inside the coronary artery and we can do the ultrasound of that artery, and even we can do the optical coherence tomography of the artery. We can exactly know what is the calcium, how much is the plaque burden, and on the basis of that we can decide our strategy, what other equipment this particular patient needs, any rotablation or any cutting balloon, and then we can deploy our stent. Because when you're deploying the stent inside the artery, the bed should be prepared nicely. So your stent should get expanded properly. So all these things have changed a lot. And because of this, one thing has more occurred, and that is we as a cardiologist has got a lot of confidence on this therapy. We do the angioplasty. Suppose patient has come. I had few patients, few politicians who came
Mm.
and they don't wanted to disclose anything. They came from morning flight, and I did the angioplasty, and the evening I discharged them. They went, and next day morning they were sitting in their office. So
Incredible.
this is all because we know that we have implanted the stents properly with the help of intravascular ultrasound or optical coherence tomography. So we were sure that nothing is going to happen and this patient will remain fine. So this is a
You
change.
know, I mean, we of course know that, there is a very, very large burden of heart disease in the country. Um, but with it, you know, the knowledge of how to look after your heart is also expanding. Um, I can't tell you if, when I was researching on heart failure, one after the other, I was getting advertisements on, some nutraceutical thing for your gut health that would keep your heart fine, and then, protein for your heart, and whole bunch of things, this heart health, heart health. Um, Based on your experience, how can one maintain their heart health after they've got heart failure? So the lifestyle programs that you would recommend to someone with heart failure.
So there are two things. One, your question is, suppose someone has already developed a
Mm,
heart failure, how he should behave.
mhm.
So in that particular scenario, if patient has got a heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, then he has to be very careful as far as his fluid intake is concerned. And he should not drink excessive water. When we say excessive water, it also incorporates your soft drinks also and any carbonated drinks. So we should restrict the liquid intake. And now people ask me, what is the connection between drinks or liquid intake and heart failure? So how it is connected? So whatever liquid we take, it goes inside our intestine and gets absorbed in the blood circulation, goes to the heart, and from heart it goes to the kidney, and from there it gets excreted. So if you are taking lot of amount of fluid, it will go to the heart, and via heart it will go to the kidneys. So there will be an extra burden to the heart. So because of that, we say that you should restrict your water intake. And as far as salt intake is concerned, we should not take any extra salt. Table salt should be avoided. And normally, if there is a deficiency of salt in your food, you should not take from outside. You should just eat it. These are two important things. Third thing, you should keep a watch on your weight. If your weight is suddenly increased, then you should start thinking that something is going wrong and you should consult your doctor. So these are at times one more symptom which is commonly ignored by people. Suppose someone is doing fine and having heart failure and very well stabilized on drugs. If that particular patient start getting cough in the night, then it's an alarming thing. Or suddenly he or she starts feeling that I'm getting tired with the amount of exertion I used to do without any problem. Then that's a should not be ignored. And these patients are prone for infections also. So they should take regular vaccine. If they are taking vaccines, then the probability of getting recurrent seasonal infections are less. Whenever there is any infection in patients who are having already heart failure, their heart failure get precipitated. So these are the few things which one can watch.
Yeah. You know, I remember the first time I saw a documentary on how the universe was born. And it just opened my eyes to the role of chemicals, and biochemicals, and how we're all made out of chemicals. And I remember then, I'd gone for a jog and I came back, my heart was beating and I was breathing fast. And I remember thinking, my God, my heart is so beautiful, and in a way, it's bringing this oxygen, this chemical into me, which I need to, like, I can't exist without it, right? And it's cleaning up my blood, and there's so many other things happening, that interplay of living and environment, and this body one is born with. I remember developing a very almost a spiritual connection, one would say, with my heart in that moment. And at a month ago, I got tested, as I do my annual testing, and it turns out I have a very strong disposition to be pre-diabetic. And I've taken it very seriously. I don't want to get diabetes. And I'd gone to a friend's house, and we were all, well, it wasn't like the food was bad, but it was outside of my eating time. I have fixed times. I don't want to keep on, putting glucose into my system. So I'm very fairly militant about it. I said, I'm not hungry. I don't see the reason to eat. Just because you've made something nice for me, I appreciate it. But I don't want to eat. And she said, oh, diabetes, there's so many drugs available. Everything will be fine. It's absolutely okay. And I remember telling her, I'm like, yes, but if it's going to fundamentally alter how my body processes energy and it starts affecting other organs like my heart, what's the point? What's the point of having so much food, having so many friends? It was very philosophical to me. And the first thing she said is diabetes can hurt your heart because it is actually, it's very shocking. I actually did a little survey amongst my friends to find out if they could see the connection between high blood pressure and heart issues, diabetes and heart issues, liver problems and heart issues, gut health as well and heart issues, the kind of connections one has. We see them all as numbers, are you within the right range? But there is something going wrong with that system, that symphony within our body. uh, how do you think one can really really educate people to start seeing these comorbid illnesses as very very harmful for your quality of life and your heart, obviously?
You are absolutely correct, and this is we need to have a system by which we can educate the society. And unless the society is educated, probably we'll not be able to achieve what we want to achieve. And in the context of heart failure, if we see, heart failure is a end result of any heart problem, and you can prevent it by having a good lifestyle. As far as diabetes is concerned, I will go a step ahead. We should think in terms of the insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a precursor of majority of lifestyle diseases, be it obesity, be it PCOD, be it heart attack, heart failure. So we should be very careful, and we should try to avoid insulin resistance. And as you mentioned, when you are not feeling hungry, there is no point in eating. If you keep eating, the insulin resistance is bound to occur. It will. So we, it is by way of education only we can
Yeah, and I
keep this.
know. In fact, I remember someone saying that if you take, it was a very beautiful example of, giving a visual image to insulin resistance. That if you take a tub of black ink and you keep putting white ink in it, eventually at some point it will turn white. So I always keep thinking of my body as, if I keep on putting sugar in it, eventually it will get resistant.
Only there was a very good study way back around 60, 70 years back, and American scientists, they have demonstrated. They recruited absolutely young individuals, aging 18 to 22 years, and they were infused continuously IV glucose of required amount of IV glucose. And within 48 hours, all those individuals turn into diabetic within 48 hours. So that shows the importance of insulin resistance. And eventually, after discontinuation, they took around 6 to 8 weeks to revert back to normal. So that shows the importance of insulin resistance.
In fact, we were talking about, the advancement of medications, and I find them to be a double-edged sword. That there's a certain sense of reliability now in being sick because there's a medicine for it. Whereas it's there to give you hope that, should you fall sick, there is something. Now it's more like, it's okay, I can be sick, there's a medicine for it, which is also very concerning.
Yeah, you just eat two rasgullas and take 10 units extra insulin a day evening. So people have,
And it's protein. That's a new way, in which one could justify it. Is I think it's a problem of abundance. I just want to end this with, what we'd begun with, doctor-patient relationships. Now, I know you say it very often. My mom is a very unique case who has very self-handedly, very, very in a very disciplined manner, gone through her entire treatment program, and she's doing very well. But she's always come to you. And I see a certain, and that's actually why I think I myself have these very long-term relationships with doctors. My gynecologist has been there for 10 years, my psychiatrist has been there for 5 years. So I'm very like, I prefer going back to the same person, and having complete trust, you know, beyond a point. Even if I'm scared, I'm happy to ask for an explanation, but to have that trust. And I feel that doctors also respond accordingly. If they see that enthusiasm in you, there is a there's a genuine ease of a patient relationship. I mean, I remember in COVID, I used to just WhatsApp you, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if she had a new cardiologist. So it did help a lot. Um, is it difficult if a patient can't trust you?
You're right. And doctor-patient relationship is very, very important, and we should have a amount of trust. If you don't trust your doctor, then it becomes like a mechanical thing. And believe me, whenever doctor sees his patient and he is regularly taking care of that particular patient, there is a emotional involvement also, and there is a connect between patient and doctor. And once that connect get established, uh, treatment is a fun. Then you start enjoying it. And
Yes.
patient also, in spite of his illness, patient also starts enjoying, because we all know that eventually one day we have to die. You are not a permanent member of this earth. So when your destiny is written,
Mhm.
when and how, nobody knows. So uh, patient, I have a good number of patients. Uh, one one of those, he used to he will come and say, डॉक्टर साहब मरेंगे तो आपके हाथ से ही मरेंगे. So see the amount.
There is a.
बोले कम से कम ये तो सुख रहेगा कि आपके हाथ में रहे. So this type of relationship, if we develop, then
Hmm.
it's a profession which is to be enjoyed.
Yeah. Um, I think I'll just end the episode by just relaying one of my mom's favorite stories, where when she first was in the hospital and they said, pick a cardiologist, and she was given a brochure. And she says, I picked Dr. Rathi because he was smiling. It made me feel nice. That was the only reason. And she says it all the time, So there is something for a smile and a good relationship. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am just going to send a message to our listeners that if you've enjoyed this episode, then please leave us a rating. And if you have some feedback or there's a certain health issue you would like to know more about, then you can write in the comments or send us an email at pods@indiatoday.com.